Are we as spa businesses using the data that we have in systems like our CRM and booking systems to actually drive our business? That's the question we're talking about today. I've got the fantastic Amy from Trybe with us today. Thank you for joining me, Amy.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're super welcome. I mean, I'm the one that's been pestering you about data, so thank you for joining me. I will click through your presentation and move on to the next slide, and let you kind of guide us through some of the cool statistics that you've got coming out of Tribe at the moment.
Yeah, so I guess kind of the key thing here is to talk about like booking behavior and how that converts into revenue and an increased spend for businesses. So one thing that all 2025 events focused on, whether it was a panel discussion or a keynote, was budgets, and people are really struggling
Yeah.
to hit these. So how can you make hit these budgets without actually spending more and putting in more effort and more
Yeah.
work? And it definitely starts with the booking journey, and booking behaviors like fundamentally really changed over the past few years. Customers want like instant gratification. We don't want to have to wait for things anymore. And so having instant bookings is just like one thing that massively will impact your revenue if you don't already have this. So here are just some stats around booking behavior, and 76% of bookings are made on a mobile or a tablet. And that just speaks volumes in comparison to probably what it was 5, 10 years ago, where people were calling or emailing to make a booking because they had no other option.
Yeah, and I guess with that as well, people need to make sure their websites are mobile and tablet responsive, don't they? Because I know that sometimes, obviously we would hope most websites are, but if your website isn't intuitive straight away on the tablet or iPhone, you're losing the guest then anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, you're massively seeing a drop off, and you're massively seeing people disengage with your offering, whether that's hospitality or not. It's literally life wide, I suppose.
Yeah.
And 72% of travelers prefer to book their wellness travel online, which again just supports the idea that people don't want to have to call or email. They want to be able to make a booking as and when it's convenient for them. And it again, 81% of abandonment rate if you do have to call or email, which just shows that people don't want a disjointed booking. They want something that's super seamless, that's convenient, and that they can do as and when they want in their own time, whether they're on the tube, on the sofa, at the pub, literally wherever.
Yeah, I mean, I know personally, if someone needs me to email or make a call, I'll look at anything else rather than do that now. I think if your competitor has online booking, has a tablet, a mobile facilitating website, you're going to go to them, aren't you? Because, we all want instant, like you say, gratification.
Yeah, for sure. And a few years ago, there was research that came out, and it spoke about people trust robots more than people, which kind of sums up that people would rather talk to a chatbot or make a booking online than calling and actually speaking to a person. So again, it just like fully supports online bookings are the future. And that's supported by stats from Trybe. We've seen an abandonment rate of 39%, which is half of what um the industry is if you have to call or email to make a booking. So it's just super powerful.
Yeah, some of that. I guess some of that abandonment rate would be people looking at availability, potentially going off and just kind of having a shop around before they make a commitment. So it's not all down to the guest journey. It's some of it's research, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. And people want to book as and when they want to be in control, and they want to do it at their leisure. And yeah, this kind of follows on really nicely to when people are booking versus how much they're spending and when they're spending their money. So 51% of spa bookings through Tribe happen out of traditional hours. So that's like outside of your traditional 9 to 5 office hours. So if your team have obviously logged off for the day, how is someone supposed to make a booking if no one's on the desk or no one's there to help? And then this translates into, we see that the most popular time to book a spa break is between 8 and 9, but also we see the highest spend. So it's when people
PM.
like at
PM,
home.
I'm assuming 8 and 9 p.m.
Yes, yeah, PM. So it's when people are on the sofa at home, it's when they're at the pub with friends, they're out for dinner. It's not when they're sitting at a desk or during their office day. Um, and yeah, and this again is supported by Saturday is the least popular day for bookings. However, people are spending more compared to Mondays, which are the most popular day, but people are spending less. Yeah. So it just reflects that, like, if people are relaxed, if they're in their own environment, if it's the weekend, they're in a different mindset on the weekend to the weekday. And obviously, that's massively impacting spend.
Yeah, I wonder if on a Monday evening between 8 and 9, you've got a little time, you're feeling a bit more, you've got the time to have a look, you're going to spend more time looking for maybe a deal or something. But come Saturday, you're like, right, I want a spa, I want to book something, let's just get something booked. Maybe you're out with friends, you're a bit more excited, let's just book it, I guess, rather than look to be more cost savvy. I don't know. That's interesting.
And it also might play into the fact of it's more of an impulse booking on a Saturday when you are with friends, you have an idea and you're like, oh yeah, let's just book
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And
I do it
it's
all the
done
time.
instantly. Yeah.
Saturdays are an expensive day for me as well. But yeah, I think that's interesting though that is the case, because it's not necessarily that they're booking on the Saturday for a Saturday treatment. It's just that they're more impulsive, they're ready to book, and they just don't want to sort of faff around, I guess, shopping around.
Yeah. No, definitely. Because if you're booking for yourself or if you're booking with a group of friends, you don't want to spend your whole time together scrolling trying to find a good deal. You'll just be like, oh yeah, this one looks good. Let's go with that. But I definitely do it as well. I think it's just
I
like a
know.
mental thing.
We're all nodding. Yes, yes. Those expensive meals with your girlfriends or your friends that suddenly become a spa day on it.
Yeah.
But then you're also seeing stuff seasonally as well. That was the thing that was really interesting when you showed me the stats, that there's actual seasonal differences as well.
Yeah, definitely. So everyone knows that December is a big gift giving month. There are so many different celebrations going on, and we've seen that the voucher sales in December are 3 times higher than the next most popular month for buying vouchers, which is November. And we've seen over 72,000 vouchers sold in the month of December alone, which is crazy.
That's a lot of vouchers.
And I remember about 5 years ago, I was seeing that gift vouchers and gift cards were declining in sales, but I think it's massively changing now, and people are now gifting experiences. They're gifting something more than just like, oh, okay, here's like some perfume or here's a bottle of wine. They want to gift something where you can get memories from it.
Yeah, I mean, we've just had Christmas. I mean, we've been bought experiences as a family, and we gift a lot of experiences. What we tend to do is gift the experience and join them.
Yeah.
It's quite a nice way of doing something, isn't it? And I think with the increase in wellness, gifting wellness, even from a corporate perspective, that would be interesting as well. People will start, I think, to gift a lot more wellness, because it's giving something to someone that maybe they don't always spend their own money on. They don't see it as their priority spend. So being gifted it is actually, and the more people start to gift, there'll be like a cycle, I imagine. Oh, I really enjoyed being gifted that. I'll then gift it, etc. So I think we will see a massive increase in voucher sales. And then, but you were saying about the November value as well, which I think is incredible.
Yeah, so November, although I mean we saw a load of voucher sales in November, but ultimately the spend average voucher sale was higher in November than it was in December. So although more vouchers are sold in December, they're of less total value than November, which like plays into loads of different factors. It might be that people are more mindful as to like what they're gifting and who they're gifting to. People are organized, so they've like got a list laid out, and in December you might just impulsively think, oh gosh, I forgot about so and so, I need to do something. And a
Yeah.
voucher is a great thing to do that because you can just email it over. You don't have to worry about physically having it and arriving in time.
I like that. Yeah, yeah. The last like minute panic buy. So I guess for spas looking to use this data, the case is saying to spas, well, you need to not be promoting vouchers in November to sell. You perhaps even looking as early as October or September, October. How do you really start to promote vouchers? Because if people are spending a higher value per voucher in November, how can you, I guess, maximize that revenue? That's what we're sort of trying to tackle here, isn't it? How do you maximize revenue? You do that by planning ahead to hit that bigger spend market, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. Like starting campaigns early for Christmas, so doing it in October, November time to start getting that awareness building up. And then also tailoring it slightly. You could do more of a premium bundle or more of a premium offering in October, November, and then in December, you can change it to do more of a high volume, less cost or lower cost to try and capture in and to kind of hone in on the data that we are seeing over spend trends.
And I'm putting you on the spot here. This isn't something that you've put in the presentation, but I always like to do this to people. Do you think that monetary style, do people generally sell and then buy more monetary style vouchers, where it's like £20 or £50? Or do packages work better, do you see? Subjectively, obviously, because we don't have the data, but out of interest, do you know that?
Off the top of my head, genuinely can't give you an answer on it. But I think in terms of trends of just what we see, just in general spending, whether that's vouchers or individual treatments or packages, people are leaning towards the package functionality and they're leaning towards that for gifting because it encompasses multiple different things. And so people see a package and it has a lunch in, it might have a welcome drink, it might have a treatment and access to wet facilities, for example. It has multiple things, and people see that and they see more value for money. They see, oh, this person's going to get multiple things. Whereas if you're gifting a monetary voucher, that's a lovely thing to do, obviously, but then someone can just spend it on like a one-off manicure or a pedicure as opposed to a whole holistic thing, which is more beneficial to the well-being of that person. And then it goes back into the trends of what we're seeing in the industry overall.
So it's worth spas if they have the facility to sell gift vouchers, especially gift vouchers online, would be to make sure that they do have their experiences available as gift vouchers as well then.
Yeah, totally. And a lot of some people utilize this, some people don't, having the ability to sell multiple in one. So you can buy a package for two different people and you can add in all their different settings. That's again really powerful. You could book a spa break for a friend, a family member, whatever, but then you can also book yourself in on that. So that's just a really nice additional thing that businesses can do when they're selling vouchers.
Oh, brilliant. A bit like me, like I always book an experience and book myself onto. So who is spending? And obviously the question is who isn't?
Yeah. And I think this is like such an interesting one because the industry typically has targeted on the 35 plus market. Because that's where traditionally that's where people have had the most disposable income. They're more willing to spend on health and wellness, and these spa days and experiences. But we're now seeing that actually this is massively shifting. And the highest spenders, when it does come to a spa break or a spa day, is the 25 to 34-year-old market. And this is followed by the 18 to 24-year-old market. So the younger demographics are really spending on their wellness. They're prioritizing this over a night out like I did when I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
I wasn't even thinking about going to a spa. And so trends and shifts are just really changing. And this is to do with social media. This is to do with lifestyle. There's so many different factors that kind of come in to play in this. And then it's really interesting to see that the 55 plus market who were targeted, who used to traditionally spend more, are actually spending less on these spa experiences, which just shows how much things have changed over the past few years.
Yeah, that's interesting because we would normally say, oh, they've got more disposable income at 55 plus, their families have left home. We would typically as spa businesses say, oh, well, that's where more of our market is. And in previously, are the younger 18 to 35s really spending in spa? So it's interesting to see this data come out. And I think like just from my experience, my nephew is turning 21 in a few weeks' time. What would you like to do for your birthday? Oh, I want to go and do a contrast bathing experience because I'm really into my whoop. I'm like, wow, like where's the let's go clubbing and drink loads gone? He doesn't want to do that. Not that we should be encouraging drinking
No.
lots and going clubbing, but what I'm saying is that I think there's like a generational shift because we know we're gonna live longer. We want to live longer in a healthier way. We want to feel fit at 50. We want to celebrate being 60 and 70, not looking at them as like doomsday. And I think perhaps the influence of TikTok and, that's another thing is this data, where are you finding them? Well, if their spending is in that demographic, how are you going to find your guests? So I think there's like this data really should make spas step back and analyze who is their guest, really, shouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Who is their guest and how do they like to be communicated to?
Yes.
So instead of email comms is obviously huge and it always has been and it will be for years to come. But if someone hasn't visited your spa or your hotel before, how are you going to target them? How are you going to get them through the door or even just on your website to see, oh, like this place looks cool. So I think shifting how you're communicating and who you're communicating to is huge. Like look at social media, look at Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn even. People love it at the minute. There's so many different channels to go down aside from the traditional routes that people are doing, like email marketing or SMS marketing.
Yeah, and I think also things like ChatGPT, if your website isn't hitting ChatGPT, if I say I want to go and spa in London, give me the top five that offer, I don't know, hot stone massage. If you're not going to come up on that list, that's how people are searching nowadays, isn't it? They'll use ChatGPT, Claude, all of these sort of AIs, capabilities to search as well. I think that's where I start looking for stuff. I'm not in the 55 plus, but I'm definitely not 35. But we need to look at that really as well, don't we? And how you, like you say, you reach the guest, but also what's your cost of getting that guest? You can use an in-house account on a TikTok, show some really great reality shots of, this is our thermal spa, you're into contrast bathing, this is what we can do, by understanding your guest, who they are, how old they are, where they're going to find you, that can really drive your business and boost your revenue. If you're, not considering these platforms now, then, you're really missing out on opportunity, aren't you?
Yeah, 100%. And there's Carden Park, for example, they have an incredible
They are
Instagram,
brilliant.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Like theirs is amazing. And Folk Spa in Norfolk as well. It's like super Instagrammable. They've got a disco toilet room. They've got four different types of saunas. It's so cool when you like have a look at it. And when you see it online, when you see it on Instagram and TikTok, you're so interested because it's visually so pleasing. So yeah, just like having a look at accounts that are working, accounts that are doing well and thinking, oh, we could do that. Why aren't we doing it?
Yeah, it's a bit like things like, art community in London and these other places that have DJs that come in on a weekday night and they do sauna sessions with DJs and things, I think it's looking to make your facilities not only where do you find your guests, but how are you now appealing to them. I guess that rolls into the male bookings because you saw a 255% increase between just 1 year.
Yeah. So between 2024 and 2025, there was over an almost 300% increase in the number of males booking on Trybe. And that is just like an incredible stat when you look at it. And I did have to like triple check and I was like, am I reading this right? Because I didn't want to start just spreading fake news everywhere. But it's just mirrors the trend shift that we're seeing in the younger generation. We're now seeing it more. I think men's wellness has always been big. It's always been a thing, but people have been less likely to book a spa break for either themselves or their friends if they are male. And now it's just massively shifting. People are prioritizing these things and people are trying, whether it's hot and cold therapy, traditional spa break, or like an Aufguss. There are so many different things now that are appealing to a wider market than just here's a relaxing spa break.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know what they're booking because I think in the past, I'm looking like 20 years ago, you'd have a male section of the treatment menu, and I wonder whether there is like a revival in that, like whether there rather than a male section, whether there are treatments that they're looking for that perhaps they can get from fitness or, these sort of standalone sauna communities that spas should be looking to incorporate. I wonder if there are things that our male guests are looking for that we perhaps haven't already got. Not that we need a separate section, but maybe there's things we should be incorporating. That would be interesting, I think, to know.
Yeah. And I think also it goes back to the marketing aspect of a spa. When you look at the brochures or photos online, it is typically all female. There are no men, or there are no younger people in these visuals that they're using, whether it's a video or anything. So I think people now starting to adapt their marketing to focus on the entire market, as opposed to, oh, okay, this has worked well for us in the past, we're going to stick to this. Actually looking at the market trends and looking at demand.
Yeah, and also perhaps even the influencers you work with, if you're talking social media, TikTok, Instagram, you may predominantly have been working with a lot of potentially female influencers. Are you looking at getting in your male influencers, and how are you using them, the fitness, the sports side of the industry, perhaps to even better promote as well your facilities?
Yeah, people, like, society is so diverse. There are so many different types of people now. Why aren't we marketing to them? Why aren't you using them in your marketing materials? Because you want people to see themselves in your videos, in your photos. So just really looking at that and thinking, okay, what do we want from our business and what do we want to
Oh,
represent?
Amy, you're opening up a whole kettle of worms or fish. I can't remember which animal. Um, where where you're getting into different body shapes. Are we being accessible for neurodivergent? Are we making sure that we're approachable for those who are on a cancer journey? I think all of this needs to be addressed. This is a massive project for the spa industry, which I'm sure we all have in the spa industry a lot of strong opinions on. But I think from the data perspective, I think we are looking at all of that, but actually one of the shocking and great shocking things is to see a massive increase of men.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, spas should just be looking at this, utilizing it more and thinking, okay, how can we capitalize on this?
Yeah, because this is a revenue opportunity, for them. You think hen day, hen group, but actually, what about guys celebrating birthdays or special occasions, or those sort of things? Like you say, what's your imagery? Is it always women with towels on their heads, you know, having a spa party? And then that's obviously leading on really nicely to guess what personalization.
Yeah, so I think this goes across every kind of market, not just the spa industry, but obviously the spa and the wellness industry is a lot more personalized. You use products, you use treatments that are tailored to you and your needs and what you like. And so we're seeing that 40% of consumers are prioritizing getting an offer. So people want value for money. We know that everything has gone up in price, but people's salaries are kind of staying the same. And so people are prioritizing how and when they're spending. So they like a package because it is good value for money, but it also gives more of a perceived value for money to the guest. So 92% of bookings through Trybe are packages, which is just like speaks volumes as to what people are wanting. And it's because it does have multiple different options, like we kind of spoke about earlier. It's got a welcome drink, it's got a wet facility access, it has a treatment, it has lunch if people want. They can then personalize this to themselves, even though it is predetermined by the property in the spa. I hope that makes sense.
No, no, that does. But when you say about prioritizing getting the right offer, what does that mean?
So people are looking at value for money and they're looking at, oh, does this offer kind of speak to me and my needs? Does it incorporate multiple different parts, as opposed to, oh, it's just a one-off treatment and you don't get anything else?
Ah, okay. So that's what we know that guests are looking for that. And then the upsell, so the upsell value. So £266, and is that's a spa day sort of style package, or that's a treatment? How is that representative?
It kind of covers anything that you can upsell, basically. So it could be someone is upgrading from a glass of prosecco to a bottle of prosecco, or they're upgrading from a mini treatment to a full treatment. They might be adding things on. They might be going from kind of half a spa day to a full spa day. But the average upsell value we're seeing is £266. And that's, yeah, it's a huge number. And again, I did have to like triple check this because I didn't want to, I was like, am I sure it's not 26? Or like, am I misreading it? But it just goes to show that if you personalize things and you're doing it well and in a way that doesn't feel generic, that doesn't feel broad and doesn't feel pushy, people are really responsive to it. We know that upsells are taken up 8% of the time through Trybe, which is huge when you can think about it. But that value is almost £300. So if you're not doing this, and you're not offering upsells, whether it's in person or online, you're missing out on a huge revenue stream.
So how does that happen then? So, for instance, I'm booking in a spa day, for instance. I go through, I book my spa day. Is there then like an option once I've done the completed the selection for the spa day, the spa should then have a set of upsell opportunities or upgrades that people can then use? Is that the best way to facilitate that? How's the best way for a spa to do that?
I guess if you're doing it in person, you can literally just say, oh, do you want to upgrade from a 30-minute massage to a 45 minutes? Or would you like to turn this into a bottle instead? It's super easy to do it in person. And online, there are a few different ways that it can be done. So on Trybe, once someone's clicked on a package and they're just looking before they've added it to the basket, there's also other suggestions that kind of say, oh, would you like this or would you like to add on something else? So it will give you other suggestions. And then additionally, once things are in the basket and you're on that checkout journey, it will say, do you want to either upgrade or do you want to add this on? And it will be based on what you've got in your basket and what your page are on. So it is tailored to your preferences, but it's not 100% specific to you as an individual person, Sarah.
That's good. So at least there's some tailoring because it's obviously then going back to this fact that guess what personalization. They don't
Yeah.
just want everyone, everyone getting the same thing every time. If it can use the data or perhaps the package you've selected, if the package you've selected already has a glass of Prosecco, doing an upsell of a glass of Prosecco just doesn't make sense, does it? It's about how can you make sure that the guest is seeing the right upsell, which would then, I guess, make it more likely they're going to purchase the upsell.
Yeah, for sure. And we know that personalization, when it's done wrong and when someone's targeted with something that isn't relevant to them, it puts them off a brand. They're less likely to spend with you and they're more likely to spend somewhere else. And so if you're doing personalization and you're offering upsells, make sure you're doing it right and you're targeting as opposed to just like a blanket sweeping offer because it's actually going to detract away from what you want to do instead of enhance what you're doing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You don't just want 10 things that at the end everyone checks out. Here are your 10 things, pick one. It's
Yeah,
actually being very clever about the upsell. And then obviously that's how you're hitting this massive number.
yeah,
That's why
it's
I wanted to
huge,
ask how
honestly.
you got to it. I was like, where is this number from? Because that's incredible.
Yeah,
That's
but it
really,
covers, you can honestly upsell absolutely anything. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier around bookings on days of the week. If you're booking on a Saturday, for example, and you're maybe thinking, oh, let's get a glass of Prosecco added on, you're probably more likely to say, oh, go on, let's just turn it into a bottle. You are, and it
yeah.
goes back to what times are you doing it, when are you doing it, and how are you communicating?
Yeah, but also, add another treatment. Oh, no, don't just have one treatment when you come. Book another treatment. I think we sometimes forget that people come and they'll book one treatment, but actually, if you give them a nudge, they could and that's probably how you boost this up. Book another treatment.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
add
And you could
one on.
do, yeah. And you can do this with like retail products as well. Or you could say, oh, you've booked in a pedicure. Do you also want a manicure to go alongside that? Because then someone can have the matching colors and they can have that whole unique personalized experience. And then it just enhances their whole stay with you.
Yeah, because you've considered what they're there for and what might help them enhance that experience.
Yeah.
Amy, this has been incredibly useful, and I'm sure you've got loads more data. Don't worry, I'll be coming and asking you for more. But I'm going to hand over to you to summarize of the data that we've discussed.
Okay, fab. So we know that guests are booking outside of office hours. They want to book on their mobile and they're booking in the evenings. So it supports the need for an online booking journey that's intuitive, user friendly, and that ultimately support desktop and phones. So is your website mobile friendly? Because if it's not, maybe have a look into that. How can you enhance that for the guests? And also, if you're not taking online bookings, just having a think about, okay, is this something we should consider? And let's start putting it in the budget so that when it comes to these big decisions, we're ready and prepped for it. That spending doesn't necessarily follow volume. So kind of think about quality over quantity, and the value of a customer over the volume. So think about when you're putting out your messages, how you're communicating, and think, okay, we know that X demographic spend more on a Saturday. Let's target them specifically on a weekend, as opposed to let's just send an email to absolutely everyone in our database on a weekend. Like, really think about it more strategically.
Huh.
Then packages and vouchers drive the majority of revenue. We've seen vouchers at the end of the year sell way more than in the January, February's. And packages, if you're not offering packages and more of a holistic experience to your guests, it's something that you should really consider doing, because people don't just want a one-off treatment anymore. They're prioritizing their wellness and they're prioritizing their spending on this. They might be going to a spa once or twice a year instead of 5 times a year, but actually when they do go, they're spending a lot more with you. Then the younger demographics are spending more. They're the target audience that you should be looking at if you haven't already been looking at them. And also the male demographic is rapidly growing, and it's a booming market. And so think about the communications, think about your marketing materials, and thinking, okay, how can we really hone in on these trends and make 2026 something where we're using this data, as opposed to getting to the end of the year and thinking, oh, we should have had a look at this. So just really pre-preparing for it. And then the final thing is just automation will save you time and it will increase spend. So whether you're looking at upsells, whether you're looking at online bookings, whether you are looking at your communications, just having a look at the whole technical side of things and really making sure that your tech is working for you and you're working with it, as opposed to working against it and having this like friction amongst the stacks that you're using.
Yeah. Oh, that came out of my few years working in tech as a tech startup. Tech stack is very important, and I think quite often spa doesn't feature enough in that tech stack decision, when actually there's a lot of upsell revenue to be taken if you can make sure that your online booking system works and everything speaks to each other. So that again is another whole conversation. But Amy, thank you so much for joining me today. I think it's be really interesting to look in a few months' time at what other data we can present and share back, because I think if someone isn't confident in getting the data out of their system, having someone who, like yourself, who can say, look, we've had a look and this is what we're seeing nationally, that's a huge benefit, because I know that sometimes people don't understand how to get the data out or interpret it. So if we can provide that for them, that's an excellent piece of skill that we've got to be able to share with the wider community. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.